we've had a really exciting poll where we see that dessert is clearly in the lead, followed by fast food, and then what looks like vegetables, and finally something warm and steaming. And maybe that's because many of you are in a part of the country where it's warmer than it is here in the Bay Area. But I think we're probably ready to go ahead, and I can stop sharing about snacks and we can start sharing about SNAC. So you want to go ahead and bring up your slides?
Sure. I think everybody can see this now.
Yes, looks great. Go ahead and take it away.
Great. So thank you, Marilee. I am Dina Herbert. I am one of the SNAC liaisons at the National Archives, and I'm also going to preface this with, I have 2 little kids at home, and you never know who might barge in, you know, naked and running around and demanding mommy or something. So if that happens, I apologize in advance. And I'm glad the poll is no longer up because my daughter would see the ice cream and start demanding it. But anyway, okay. So we're going to talk about SNAC, which is snaccooperative.org is our website. And many of you have probably heard me or other SNAC people involved in SNAC just talk about what we're doing and, you know, what SNAC is before. So hopefully this is still going to be new and exciting for you. So what is SNAC? It is social networks and archival context. And you can learn much more through our website, but in a nutshell, and lifted from the About page, SNAC is a free online resource that helps users discover biographical and historical information about persons, families, and organizations that created or are documented in historical resources, mostly primary source documents, and their connection to one another. Users can locate archival collections and related resources held at cultural heritage institutions around the world. SNAC is an international cooperative, including, but of course not limited to, archives, libraries, and museums, that is working to build a corpus of reliable descriptions of people, families, and organizations that link to and provide a contextual understanding of historical records. So again, continuing on, what are the rationales for SNAC? One of the rationales is that SNAC is to create an authority file for archival records. So many of us, authority files for libraries, such as the Library of Congress Name Authority File, VIOF, OCLC, and so on. Archival material, though, needs some different fields, and there was never an authority file geared just for archival materials. SNAC can now address this need. SNAC can also address the archival diaspora, since for many entities, their papers and documents are scattered all over the world. One of the examples that I often use is somebody like Abraham Lincoln. The Library of Congress has some of his papers, National Archives has lots. He wrote to and from Queen Victoria, so the UK National Archives probably has some of his letters. I think every historical society in the United States always seems to boast, their Lincoln letter, or some kind of Lincoln connection. And so rather than researchers having to go to different websites and check finding aids at all these different institutions, they can now just go to SNAC and make their experience in researching a lot easier and a lot more painless. And so we also talk about that SNAC is a social network, and it's not a social network like Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram, but a documentary social network. So we can connect identities by using their documents. SNAC is built upon EAD, encoded archival description, and EAC, CPF, encoded archival context for corporate bodies, persons, and families. In 2014, there was a major ingest of data from lots of different places. And since 2016, editors from member institutions and now also volunteer editors have been manually cleaning up data and adding more entities. So SNAC right now, there are nearly 4 million records, or what we also refer to as constellations, and entities, records, constellations, I sort of use interchangeably. And I will be using interchangeably throughout the presentation. So just sort of how you read and look at a record. So we have a person's name authority here with life dates. Again, the alternative names would pull up the other names related to an entity, other names this person or corporation go by, which is the way that we talk about it as an authority file. There is a biography of the person, and for this we use a Wikipedia model, we call it. During the ingest phase in 2014, biographies were pulled together through finding aids. There was no consistency. Some finding aids had longer biographies, some had shorter, some didn't have any. And now editors are, kind of going through, and as we edit, we are cleaning up and creating new biographies, and also with the ability to edit each other's work. We pull images through Wiki Commons and Wikidata, and where applicable and available, we have exist dates, life dates, or establishment dates for corporations. We have spots for nationality, languages. There's also gender, although these fields are, we understand that they are, nationality, gender, are very fluid, and they're not required, they're optional, and our editorial and standards committee have been working a lot on updating the rules around language and gender, etc. So building again off of sort of a wiki model, we have a publicly available revision history and an audit trail, so you can see what has been done, when it has been done, if things have been merged or edited, and you can compare and so on. And I'll probably be able to do a little bit of a live demo. I always say it's screaming o'clock in our house. I think the afternoon movie is over, but you never know who is, watching Disney Plus. So now we sort of get into the exciting linking parts with SNAC, and the different data that we can link to each other. So the connections is really where we get the guts, get the exciting guts of SNAC. And one of the advantages is that we can easily see connections of an entity with other persons, families, or corporate bodies. And we can see the different types of relationships using EAC, CPF, and editors can make the decisions about these types of relationships. So we often have associated with, but also corresponded with. There are a couple of examples here: honored by Howard University. And I should have said earlier, it's on my notes in my next slide, but I'm using Fannie Lou Hammer as our example for today. She is a community rights activist, civil rights activist, excuse me. And one of her most famous sayings is, she's the one who said, "I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired." I think that's actually on her tombstone in Mississippi. And so you know, that's really great. So she was honored by Howard University. She received an honorary doctorate, or an honorary doctorate from Howard. She's associated with certain people. She is the founder of the Freedom Farm Cooperative, and so on. So we can differentiate between member of and founder of. Everything here is sortable and searchable. And so, you know, there's that as well. So moving along. So we can also see the shared resources between entities. So in the relationships, you can see that she corresponded with Heber Ladner. And if you move along, if you click this little icon, you can see in what papers they corresponded. So Heber Ladner was the Mississippi Secretary of State in the 1960s, or 1950s and 1960s. And you can see that Fannie Lou here is the creator of the Fannie Lou Hamer papers, and Heber Ladner is referenced in these papers. And so again, we can continue to figure out these connections. One of the things about SNAC is that we distinguish between completely digitized resources, that when we know that they are completely digitized, versus primarily analog materials. So these papers, which are at the Wisconsin Historical Society archives, are completely digitized. So they're listed in the digital archival resources, if there were bibliographic as well. Although primarily SNAC focuses on archival, not bibliographic material. So there is a direct link to the finding aid, which in this case will take you to the completely digitized materials. This little eye icon in SNAC will take you to a description of the resources, where you can link the resource within SNAC, and you can start seeing more in-depth searching about that. So this is what it would take you in SNAC, a page devoted entirely to the resource. And it gives you more information about the papers, the resource link, an abstract, extent, holding repository dates. And we have a nifty little map which will show you the coordinates of this. So if a researcher is trying to plan out a research visit, or maybe at some point somebody might want to collect the data of how interesting is it where collections are throughout the world, this is what's available for us. Further down, we also have the related entities within this. This is just the second half of the page, basically, within this resource. There are actually way more than 7 entities. I was not able to finish updating all the back and forth, all the connections before I had to give up last night and publish this presentation. So, or get the nice little screenshot. So hopefully I'll continue soon. So there were several of these, and again, you can sort of see all the different connections and entities that are referenced in these papers. So for this example, we're going to look at Unita Blackwell, who is another activist, and in one of the letters she's referred to. There was a letter to Fannie Lou saying, oh, I was talking to Unita and she was saying blah blah blah, and I did not go through these papers. I was fortunate that the Wisconsin Historical Society archives, the processing archivist, really did a great deal of work in parsing out all of this information. So you select Unita and you would go directly to her SNAC entity and constellation page. And again, you can see then her relationship, that she's associated with Fannie Lou and that she's referenced in these papers. We also have links to other authority files. In this example, these are sort of the big ones that we frequently link to, which, Library of Congress, National Archives, name authorities, BIOF, Wikidata, WorldCat, collective biographies of women, and we have in the last few weeks started to expand the types of authorities that we are linking to, like Find a Grave, Union List of Artist Names, lots of other national libraries, IMDb, and several others. So the example that we use for Wikidata is we do have our own property for SNAC, for the SNAC ARC ID or the SNAC Authority ID. I think ARC stands for something, and I just realized I've never actually known what it stands for. So we can link within Wikidata. All of our information is not in Wikidata. We don't have, 3.8 million or whatever it is that we're up to, 3.7, nearly 4 million entities in Wikidata. But, maybe at one point it's something we are striving to get to, or using SNAC data to enhance Wikidata or create new Wikidata entities if needed. So I talked about earlier what makes it a constellation, and this is sort of this screenshot. And again, I'll show you a sort of a live demo. So this is what we mean in terms of a constellation. So I added the little boxes that you can see these different people, but we can see the different connections that are made from Fannie Lou Hamer to lots of other people within an orbit. So if you think of her as like the sun, and then there are lots of different entities surrounding her. This is just 2 degrees of separation. Right now the system can do 1, 2, or 3 degrees. And you can sort of zoom in and out, and I'll do a demo in just a few minutes. And so you can see that she is connected to Gerda Lerner, or Fannie Lou is connected to Gerda Lerner, who is one of the founders or one of the pioneers of women's history in academia. And Gerda Lerner is associated with Hillary Clinton, Earl S. Buck, and so on. Fannie Lou is also connected to June Jordan, an activist and a poet. So obviously there are going to be different types of connections that June has. So she has connections with poets like Allen Ginsberg and Amiri Bakara and Adrienne Rich, and then also Jesse Jackson, another activist. And same thing with Floyd McKissick, another activist that he's going to have. He was more of a political activist, so his connections are going to be different. And sometimes you are able to see where there are connections between the second degrees. And this is also one of the powerful. I've been trying to think of the word, and I think the quarantine brain has really seeped in by July that I spent 15 minutes trying to come up with the word that I'm looking for. So I still am having trouble, but this is sort of one of the real exciting things about SNAC, is that we can figure out where these people existed in history. People, families, corporate bodies, etc., where they existed in history and who they were connected with. And who else they were connected with, and different parts of their lives. How they created these collections, and sometimes they have. So there are some people. One of the examples that we often use is John Alexander Pope, who was the director of the Smithsonian Freer Gallery for Asian Art, and so most of his papers and his constellations are dealing, and most of his connections deal with Asian art. He was an expert in Chinese blue pottery, but he also has this other connection because the National Archives has lots of his papers from a summer expedition to the Arctic in the 1920s, which his parents sent him on to break up with his college girlfriend. You know, be a man, just graduated, we don't like your significant other, you know, go spend 3 months in the frigid north. And he did that on an expedition financed by George Palmer Putnam, who is well known as being Amelia Earhart's husband, and with Bartlett, I think it was Bartlett, now I'm going to forget, Richard Byrd or Robert Bartlett, some of the interesting polar explorers. And so there was this connection that we were able to make, and SNAC can sort of create those connections. We are trying to be very conscious of the types of people we are identifying within SNAC, and we don't want it to just be dead white men or, you know, exclusively dead white women, and so or dead white men and women. So we are trying to, you know, use what we demonstrate with and who we are really promoting differently. So what have we been doing with SNAC lately? It has been pretty busy in the spring and summer. We are, in April, we had an Archaeology and Indigenous Peoples edit-a-thon that was spearheaded by some of our partners at Harvard University and the Peabody Museum at Harvard. We had over 20 participants on the 3-day event working on lots of different records. It was originally going to be a very different type of event with in-person, and you know, we were hoping for more participation, but as we all know, things changed very rapidly in the early spring. So we had to sort of reimagine our edit-a-thon. We have been increasing training. SNAC is, one of the benefits of SNAC is that it is entirely digital and can be done from anywhere. So as we experience the new normal, and more archivists are working from home, and we have been increasing training for onboarding of new editors. We've been bringing on some new member organization and also some new volunteer editors, which is something we've been doing for the last few months. These are people just like you, listener, who are interested in adding to SNAC and editing SNAC and going through training without having to be without having your institution be a member of SNAC. And there are limitations to that. Obviously, you know, being a member for an institution is much more beneficial. We're continuing to work on policies. We're doing, I think today it went live, that there's a sort of back end editing update. So we've been really busy getting ready for that. And then here is a list of the current members. And again, we've been increasing a core of volunteer editors. And we're pretty excited about what we have been doing and the types of records we've been editing and so on. And some other projects on the horizon that we are working on. We're working on getting lots more data about enslaved people from one of our partners at UNC Chapel Hill, and in other places that are hopefully going to be, the data is going to be ingested soon, and we can make these connections and relationships. So thank you. Here is my information. I'm happy to answer questions. I'll also, let me do a demo of the.
Actually, before you go to the demo, because we are a little into our Q&A time, and I want to be sure that the questions get answered. But you can go ahead and leave this up, and then if we run short on questions, you can jump to a demo. How does that sound?
Perfect.
Okay, great. So one of our questions is, I am completely new to SNAC. Thank you so much for this information. How does the underlying framework work similarly to IIIF in that the idea is to enable greater aggregation of archival collections across the web?
So AAAF, I am not actually sure if I know what that is. I'm looking, IIIF. That is a good question.
Okay.
I don't know. And Jesse, I see it's from Jesse Lambertson. I can get back to you. Also posted on Slack. I will have to remember to look at that. I'm sorry that I don't know. I don't know much about IIIF. So if you want to, continue to figure that out, I'm happy to, or explain what that is. I'm happy to try to figure it out.
Super, great. Okay, so that's to the Slacks then.
Yes.
For continued conversation. Rob Fernandez, you said you're looking for more SNAC editors. Maybe you could say a little bit about, do people just get in touch with you? Is there a process? What are you looking for in your SNAC? When are your SNAC editors? What are you looking for?
Yeah. So we have definitely been doing a lot more sort of broadening our reach of editors, and some of that came through the edit-a-thon that I talked about over the spring. That was as a way to get more Indigenous people's records and sort of North American archaeology, their records within SNAC, reaching out to different groups of people that might be interested and might not have known SNAC, especially because a lot of the smaller institutions don't always have access to some of the larger aggregates, information sharing sites. So, there are still plenty of institutions out there using card catalogs and using, paper finding aids, and nothing that they have is online, and we understand that. And so we were trying to target some of those, potentially target some of those institutions. You can just send me an email, and I will let you know when our next training dates are. We have monthly trainings at this point through the end of the year. And I will put you in touch with my colleague at National Archives, Jerry Simmons, who is the Deputy Director of SNAC as well. And then also Daniel Pitti, who is our executive, I think he's the Executive Director or the Principal Investigator out at UVA. This is his brainchild. Daniel Pitti is the one who found this and has really been running SNAC. So he can also, give you more information. So just shoot me an email or message me on Slack, and I'll be happy to get you more in touch. We're looking to increase participation.
Okay, super. I'm not seeing any questions, and we do have a little bit of time before we do our wrap up. So if you want to go ahead and switch over to a demo, that'd be great. I'm sure people would be thrilled to see that.
So I'll show you more that we can do with Danny Liu. Just move this out of my way. Relationships. So again, and what I was saying before is lots of this is sortable, and you can see, she's an alumna of Shaw University, and clicking on that connection graph is really where we can get. So let's do 2. And yeah, so you can sort of see how things are. And so what's nice about this is you can move this around. And Fannie Lou has sort of a much more manageable, if you do somebody like George Washington, like, I go cross-eyed really quickly. I'm going cross-eyed with this right now. But you can sort of move everything around and then select this record, which will pull you into, Thurgood Marshall and so on. And then you can check out his connection graph and so on, and sort of see how these people are connected within their documentary within their editing and so on. There's so much potential, and you can really get lost in SNAC, I find at least. I find it really sort of fun. I mean, it pays my bills, but I also really enjoy it. So I'll show you, here's another one I like, because her, and you know, there's a lot of different types of people, like how is she connected to Gypsy Rose Lee? How is Julia Child, the, you know, writer? We know obviously she would be connected to James Beard, Craig Claiborne, MFK Fisher. These are some really impressive, really well-known people of her era in the whatchamacallit, in the food world. But Gypsy Rose Lee, the burlesque dancer, let's find out. So I'm going to search for Lee, and we can see here she is referenced in the Gypsy Rose Lee papers at the New York Public Library. I think they must have talked or something. So now I'm just curious.
Here's one more question that popped up, which is the how frequently do you update your related description links?
That is unfortunately not often as we want. So there was a massive ingest in 2014 or I think 2014. We have a lot of dead links. We have a lot of old dead links to WorldCat information because we pulled in information to from WorldCat. We have a lot of links, you know, repositories have changed their permalinks. Anything that has been updated since 2014 at an institution, like NARA has new name authorities that haven't been added. It's at this point done manually. And I know our tech team has been sort of really working behind the scenes of how to get more going. There is a lot going on with Open Refine right now in merging that information that is beyond my mental capacity to understand, so I can't even begin to talk about it, other than everybody is very excited. So that's what I have, not as often as we want it. So
you could really use this to do really good trivia questions, like what do Julia Child and Phyllis Diller have in common? They were both guests on the Gypsy Rose Lee show. Oh, another question just popped in. SNAC is a discovery tool for identity management. So can I ask about your data model in the system? Some projects use RDA standards, RDF, BibFrame, or MARC for metadata coding. And I think that the question is there, are you following any of those data models in your system, or is it more, okay. Cool.
Yeah, that's a great question. We are following RDA for the most part. We are not wedded to it. So all of our name headings, as we edit them, we are updating them to match RDA format. And you know, following those processes. So I would say probably most closely with RDA than anything else.
Super. Oh, another question. Is there any exporting of this data, and if so, in what format?
There is an export button. So I am not a tech person. I don't even pretend to play one on TV, so I can just tell you that there's an export button, and it looks like you can export to JSON and EAC, CPF, XML. If somebody has if the question asker has something more in depth, I can put you in touch with the people who talk tech more than I do.
Fantastic. Okay. I'm not seeing any other questions at the moment, so I want to thank you so much for your presentation. This was really a great interactive and fun way to end up our sessions today. One of our attendees says it's like the it's a bit like the old 6 degrees concept, but taken way beyond the 6 degrees, and you can indeed get lost in SNAC. So wonderful. Thank you so much.